What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. My name is Juan Pablo Gordon Camargo, and today we are welcomed with three top football experts, in my opinion, at the very least. I got Darren, Big Trust Braxton. I got Darius, the Patriots fan Riddick. I got Avery Collins from the boy from Atlanta in here. What is up, guys?
Yeah. How y'all doing?
Yeah, get your baby.
You know,
It is what it is.
And for everyone watching, we'll let Darren be the cock of the walk in just a minute. But before we do, I just want to give a huge shout out to one of the top guys in the field, Mr. Ian Rappaport. He came back on Twitter today after having been away for something that we're not going to talk about on this podcast, but he was severely missed in the NFL media world. And I want to kind of pose the question on you guys: who's the better NFL media insider, Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport?
Adam Schefter.
Stop playing. Schefter. Shefty, baby. Come on.
I love Ian. I love Ian, but Shefty is the guy. That's the bull right there. You know what I'm saying? That's the OG.
Darren doesn't seem like he's deciding.
That's because Darren, he likes to be a wild card, but he know who it is.
No, see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Rappaport was always my man, but Shefty just on it.
Yeah,
he on it, no matter what.
On it, yo. Nobody better.
There's technically a third horse in this race, in Tom Pelissero, but he hasn't reached the height of.
He's getting close. He's getting close. That's
he's getting up there. He's not gonna pass Ian though. So I think he'll remain third.
And that's fine for Pelissero, especially with the coverage he gets. But obviously, it's always going to be Schefter, Rappaport, and everyone else comes right afterwards.
Correct.
But, and until I don't know, what will it take for Rappaport to be number one in your hearts? Yeah.
He's got to break like 5 straight breaking news stories that like shatter the league before Adam Schefter. Like he's got to break them. It's got to be like game changing. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. It's got to be 5 consecutive, not like 1, 2, and then Shefty, and then 3, 4. It's got to be consecutive. He's got to show, because that's what Shefty has done. He's shown back to back to back to back to back. That
man don't miss. Shefty do not miss, yo. He does not.
He's good.
He needs to show basically one of those record-breaking contracts 2 or 3 times and hit one of the biggest trades in the NFL.
He almost had it with
that's how he got it.
Antonio Brown to Buffalo Bills thing that broke when it ended up just falling apart. So that I feel bad for him because that took a hit with his ranking. But I do want to give one more shout out to an NFL insider who's not really an insider but does get the news when she can. I'm going to shout out to Josina Anderson, who I think is one of the more underrated. I actually got a chance to talk to her during my time at Rutgers. My professor brought her in for a Skype call. Amazing woman, great work ethic, and her advice that she passed down is something that I have been aspiring and holding myself to try to be at least to her level.
She's one of the hardest working women in sports. I love her.
She's dope.
I agree with you. I don't think she gets enough credit for what she does and how much she works. So, and she's a consummate professional. She just gets it done. She does her job well. We never hear any negative reports or anything. So, it seems like everybody loves her. Everybody around her.
This might be the Josina Anderson fan club here at the Air It Out podcast. And as much as we like to continue going into it, we're just going to jump right into the rundown. And first on the rundown, it's obviously the biggest story of the day, you guys. Saxonville reunited in Baltimore as the Ravens traded a 2021 third-round pick and a conditional 2022 fifth-round pick to the Minnesota Vikings for pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue. The star sackmaster has 5 sacks in the last 6 games with Minnesota, but he's registered a low QB percentage of just 8.3. And Ngakoue came to Minnesota by ways of a trade from Jacksonville in the 2020 offseason. The Vikings giving up a 2021 second-round pick and a 2022 fifth-round pick for him. And he's still young. A 25-year-old pass rusher is what Yannick Ngakoue is. And he's reuniting with his Jaguars companion, Calais Campbell in Baltimore, and adds making a Ravens defense that was ranked 13th against the pass that much scarier. We're still sticking with the Ravens here for a minute. As they are, there are reports stemming out that they might possibly sign former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant to their practice squad, pending a physical. Now, Dez has not played in the NFL officially since the end of 2017. He signed with the Saints in 2018, but never saw a down of play because he was always injured during that year. Moving on into the West, the Las Vegas Raiders are having a hard time with COVID this week, as they have not only placed star left tackle Trent Brown on the reserve / COVID-19 list on Wednesday, but they also sent all 5 starting offensive linemen home because of contact tracing connecting them to Brown, according to a report from NFL Network's Omar Ruiz. The Raiders were set to play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday night, but that game was flexed out to a 4:05 time, trading places with the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals game, which now gets a Sunday night spot. Then we're moving over to in coaching news. The second stint of coaching for Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy has been less than optimal, to say the least, as a Super Bowl winning coach. Has been called totally unprepared and is just not very good at his job, at least according to reports stemming from NFL Network's Jane Slater. Anonymous players have been talking down to the Cowboy staff, saying that they are just not good at game planning. They're not good at discipline, and that the players are the ones that are controlling the locker room, not the coaching staff. Veteran linebacker Sean Lee said that report just isn't true, that the anonymity might just be coming from a player who is frustrated from his role in the defense. But so far, a 2-4 record in the NFC East does not bode well for Mike McCarthy's job prospects. And now we're ending it on kind of like a sad tone here for the rundown. Hall of Fame 49er defensive end Fred Dean passed away last Friday due to complications from COVID-19. A 2-time first-team All-Pro and a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the 49ers, Dean played 141 games for both the 49ers and the then San Diego Chargers. He was 68 years old. And that concludes today's rundown. And, guys, there's so many stories that we can break here today, and I'm going to save the best and juiciest one last, so I'll throw it over to Darius first. Darius, it is just problematic where this Cowboys team is going, and the same issues Mike McCarthy had in Green Bay are starting to follow him back into Dallas. How short is the leash now on Mike McCarthy?
I think it's really short, and it really sends back to the loss to the Arizona Cardinals. If you watch that game, it looked like Dallas didn't want to be there, and I was a big fan of Dallas playing for Dak just because Dak I felt like was the leader of that team. You lose your starting quarterback, you should rally around him, and then the first game after he's gone, you get blown out by Arizona, and you look like you don't know what you're doing on a defensive standpoint. I definitely think, when we heard about the Mike McCarthy signing, people were like, oh, this could be a good thing or this could be a bad thing. Like you said, Juan, it's the same issues he had in Green Bay is coming back, it's coming to Dallas. Aaron Rodgers, I believe he spoke about it briefly or something like that. So I definitely think if things do not get turned around, which I don't think they are, just because players are frustrated. You're losing. You're still in first place, but you're losing, and it's a time where, the division is very, very weak and you should be winning. And your record shouldn't be 2-4, obviously. But I definitely think if Mike McCarthy doesn't turn it around, Jerry Jones is probably going to, pull the plug. And I guess players are missing Jason Garrett. Maybe he wasn't as bad of a coach as people make him seem like, because at the end of the day, Dallas wasn't this bad with him as the head coach. Like, Dallas is terrible. And it's mainly on the defensive side of the ball, but, they just got to turn things around. So I definitely think if he doesn't get things handled soon, especially getting control of the locker room, if you got players saying they don't respect him and different things like that, I definitely can see Jerry Jones making pulling the plug at the end of the season.
Avery, you have a response?
I just want to comment on it real quick. I don't understand. I never understood the hire in the first place. Offense wasn't the problem. Like, Dak was putting up the best numbers of his career last year with Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. Then you bring in a guy who is another offensive-minded coach who really likes to call plays. And defense is the area that you need work on. Why would you not bring in a defensive-minded head coach to help the offensive side of the ball? I don't get it. And to Darius's point, like he might have a short leash, but we saw Jason Garrett go 8-8, like 3-4 straight seasons, and he kept his job. So I feel like as long as he kisses up to Jerry Jones, he might keep his job. But
Jerry Jones has always been known as a guy that doesn't recruit coaching talent. He recruits coaching brown noses, to say the least. And now I'm just going to go throw it over to Darren because I know he's excited about it. Man, you only have just one of the top pass rushers in the league. You now have what could possibly be a winning a defense that is capable of limiting the Patrick Mahomes offense, because there was no pass rush being generated against their matchup against the Chiefs earlier in the season. Maybe come down to time in the playoffs, that could change. So this is a Ravens fan, man. Let it out. Let it out.
Very, very simple. This is something I've been wanting since flex on people. This is something I've been wanting since basically the offseason. You gotta understand why. I really wanted the secondary pass rusher to go along with Matt Judon. Judon is a solid pass rusher, but he is not, for me, a guy that can really lead the charge. I feel like Ngakoue on the other side allows us now to be able to just rush forward in the front with Calais Campbell, Judon, and Ngakoue on the outside and the inside and drop back 7. That's what's being able to get these guys confused. And as you've seen with the Eagles, when we did that, we were getting carved up because they had all day in the pocket. Carson had all day in the pocket now. When we blitzed like crazy, we were fine, but we cannot blitz on every single quarterback. It's not going to be able to work. As we see, Patrick Mahomes carves that up every single time we play. We need to be able to drop 7, 8 into coverage and be able to stop them like that. And be able to get there with our front.
The curious thing is, like, Minnesota traded for Ngakoue after letting Everson Griffin go, and now they're trading him to the Ravens, where he wanted to go in the first place. It kind of makes you wonder, what was the point of trading for Ngakoue in the first place? So they were just planning to get rid of him. Was it a cap situation, which probably was what it was, the $12 million contract on 1 year? It's one heck of a cap hit. But regardless, it looks like Ravens will be taking on that contract, and they're more than willing to pay for it, man. They're more than willing to pay for it. You're right. Even if Ngakoue's at it, I don't know if you'll be able to stop Derrick Henry if you ever need him in the playoffs. But with that being said, we're moving on into our first topic of the day, which is some news that broke on Tuesday that really got a lot of NFL heads flustered. It was reported that the Miami Dolphins are planning to start rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa in their Week 8 game against the Los Angeles Chargers right after their bye week, giving him an extra week to prepare for his first start. Now, for a lot of people, they're happy about this. Tua's family, fans that were a fan of Tua's story after he had that horrible hip injury with Alabama last year, it's like a dream come true for a young quarterback. However, the downside that a lot of people are seeing goes towards the current quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has been nothing but a baller for the Miami Dolphins so far. 70% completion, 1,500 passing yards, 10 passing touchdowns, 7 picks, nevertheless still effective, and in a 3-3 record for second place in the AFC East. Some comments from Fitzpatrick I want you guys to keep in mind. When he heard that he was being benched, he said, it caught me off guard. It was a hard thing for me to hear. Digesting the news, my heart just hurt all day. I basically got fired, and my day today consisted of Zoom meetings with the guy who fired me and sitting in a room with the guy who replaced me for 4 hours. And here's the heartbreaking quote of them all. I've been a starter. I've been benched all kinds of different ways. But this was kind of the first place, other than Buffalo, where he was a franchise quarterback for that team for a short amount of time, nevertheless still a good quarterback. Other than Buffalo, that I've been fully committed and invested. I felt it was my team. And with that being said, I want to throw it to a former pro player, Avery, on his thoughts on the benching and what do you think is, and what do you think is, like, is this a good move by the Dolphins, or does Tua need more time?
I'm going to be honest and then say I'm torn. So I would say I'll use experience first. I remember we were playing. By the way, the Dolphins played the Rams after the bye week, not the Chargers. But I I was playing in a game against a team that had arguably the best receiver in the league that year, and I was playing corner, and I was excited for this matchup because I felt like I was the best corner in the league. I just you couldn't tell me otherwise. Nobody had scored on me that year, nothing, right? So I was just like I felt like I was the best corner going against this guy that I had heard so much about, and I had never gotten a chance to go up against this guy. So we're playing, and I'm basically shutting the guy down. He gets one out route on me for 8 yards. I make the tackle, get him out of bounds. Couple plays go by. He gets a slant for 6 yards, make the tackle, yada yada yada. And then I get pulled. And I'm like, what's going on here? 2 plays later, the guy scores a 40-yard touchdown. And I'm like, what? Why did you pull me? He's like, well, you just needed a break. I'm like, I didn't ask for a break. I'm in shape. Why are you? What is the reason that you're pulling me? Then he scored another touchdown with like 27 yards. And I'm like, are you seriously going to let us lose this game?
Were you in coverage for that?
No, I was off the field. So I come back in the game and he doesn't score. He doesn't get a catch for the rest of the game. And the coach is like, and so I go to the coach. I'm like, what was the deal? I mean, the dude comes up to me after the game. He's like, man, I'm so like that was a battle. Like I'm glad to have gone up against you. Yada yada yada. My point is, nobody ever likes to get benched, and especially when you're playing well. It's one thing if I'm playing bad and then you decide to take me out of the game, but we're playing well. We have a chance. We're second in the division. We have a chance to not only get to the playoffs, to really honestly win the division. Now, obviously, we know that the Bills are probably the strongest in the division, and then potentially, you got the Patriots there. But at the same time, they have a chance because nobody's really ran away to me because the Bills the last 2 weeks have looked shaky. Obviously, we saw what happened with Cam coming back, a little bit of rust. The Dolphins are in prime position right now, and so for me, it's tough because I'm like, I know the guy going forward. That's what you asked him for. We know that Ryan Fitzpatrick was brought in as a placeholder, but it's not like he was playing bad. It's one thing, like I said, if you're playing bad, he wasn't playing bad, and the team loves this guy. The organization loves this guy. The league loves this guy. We love Fitzmagic, so it's tough for me. But at the same time, I mean, I guess you can get a bigger sample size if you put Tua in now to see what you got. I just don't know if I would put him in against the Rams and Aaron Donald. That's kind of dangerous. But, it is what it is. To your point last week, Juan, you said that Brian Flores, or I think you might even said it in the chat, Brian Flores is leading this team in the right direction. He's made some very good moves. So we kind of got to trust his decision at this point.
And there was a story that's kind of analog to the situation back in 2004 when Eli Manning was drafted. The starting quarterback at the time was Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, led the Giants 5-4 record. And then the head coach of the Giants at that time, whose name escapes me, decided to bench Warner for the rest of that season and give Eli starting reps to really start building himself as a quarterback. He lost every other game that year, but for his entire career, he said that move helped him shape his career as a quarterback, becoming a 2-time Super Bowl champion. So with that being said, I'm kind of throwing it to Darren right now, because that similar analogy can be said about the transition from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. So I want to ask you, Darren, like, do you feel that he may be trash, but nevertheless, do you feel like that transition is going to be beneficial for Tua getting the starting rest for the rest of the year, playoffs or not?
I don't think this was actually a good move. I'm sorry. I love Tua. I really do. And I really think he's going to be amazing when he does play. He probably will be amazing when he does play. He's going to be a little messed up going against the Rams and Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, Aaron Donald in his face. I don't like that either. I agree with David. But I don't like it because if the team is working and playing so well, there's no point of changing. And you got to understand, Fitz has always been Fitz magic. So that's maybe, one or two games of him doing very well. And then one game, 3 interceptions, pick 6, and things like that. But we're not seeing that this year. We're seeing a consistent effort by Fitzpatrick. And he's playing great. I don't understand why they're switching now, but when the switch happens and they may lose the rest of the games, like the Eli Manning season type thing, I think the Dolphins overall will be better, but not for this season. So I don't think it was the right time to switch. That's the only thing. Maybe later on, if Fitzmagic came back and we really didn't see him doing well, last 4 or 5 games, throw him in. But right now, I don't see it happening. It's not fun.
And last thing I'll ask, Ryan Fitzpatrick has been to 8 teams in 14 years. He's been everywhere in the AFC East. He played for Buffalo. He played for the Jets. Now he's in Miami. Only place he hasn't played for is the Patriots. And funny enough, he's beaten the Patriots with all 3 other AFC East teams. So I kind of want to pose this question on to Darius. Let's say that you would not. Let's say that that in the next year, Cam absolutely tanks. Patriots are losing, and the Patriots have a top pick, and Ryan Fitzpatrick becomes a free agent. Do you bring Fitzmagic in and kind of do a similar situation?
No. Bill, the thing with Bill, he's not going to do that. I think that it's a situation where if we have a top pick, we're trading the pick away. That's what Belichick does. He really likes to draft in the first round. He likes to stack his draft picks for later rounds because he likes to find those hidden gems. But no, I don't think he would bring in Fitzmagic. But Chris made an excellent point, and I was going to say this is why we needed the preseason. It should have been a QB battle. If we would have saw Tua in the preseason suit up, then we can make the argument that okay, Tua should deserve the starting job. But we didn't have a preseason, so I personally don't like the move. Obviously, to Avery's point, we still don't see the Nas Cam season. But to Avery's point, Fitzmagic is working. Like, he's working. And we haven't seen this Fitzmagic in a very long time. He's being consistent. You know what I mean? And I thought maybe he was hurt or, it was an injury he was battling. Maybe that's why Tua was going to start. But it was just like, okay, we're going to start Tua. And he's going up against Aaron Donald. Like, Aaron Donald, your first game after your hip injury, you're going up against one of the top premier pass rushers who's on pace to have 20-plus sacks. That's who you're throwing your young quarterback into. And he's coming off a bye week, and he has to build chemistry with those players, different things like that. I don't like the move. And I feel bad for Fitzmagic because we see what happens when a rookie quarterback comes in for a veteran quarterback. That veteran does not get back in the game. Same situation with Daniel Jones and Eli. The only reason why they did it for Eli because Eli was retiring, and you wanted him to play his last game. But for Fitzmagic, it's like I don't think he's ever going to see the field again just because if Tua plays successful against the Rams, then it's just like, yeah, he's not coming back.
Yeah, then it's completely over. But Avery, really quick, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that maybe there was something they saw in those couple snaps at the end of the game, at the end of the last game, and maybe there was like a spark that he gave the team or something. Maybe there was some conversation within the locker room that calls for this decision. But outside of that, I just can't. And I'm a Tua fan. I'm an Alabama fan, so Roll Tide. So I'm a Tua fan. And not long ago, we were talking about tank for Tua. So I understand that Tua's the guy. So maybe I'm thinking that there's something that happened, but to me, it's just the timing is just strange.
Whatever the case may be, I will say one thing. Fitz is starting the league in INTs and couldn't move the ball in the second against the Jets. Okay, yeah, Chris, that's a good point. But, regardless of what the product on the field is, if it results in a dub, you get the dub. And in the end of the day, dubs are what matter in this league. And with that being said, with that being said, I do want to say that, regardless of how he got the job, I am glad that Tua is in position. Apart from the comeback story and the fact that he's so talented and that he's the 5th overall pick, it's nice to see a left-handed quarterback in the league again. Just want
Yeah.
to put that out there.
Yeah, but I feel you because Vic is my guy, so I get you.
So, and with that being said, we're moving on to like our next segment of today, and it's called Strikeout or Walk. And I kind of got the inspiration for this last night after watching Game 2 of the World Series. Which, if I'll just make it clear, let's go Dodgers. The game works like this. So the point of baseball is a pitcher and a batter. The pitcher is supposed to throw the ball to the batter to get him out. 3 strikes and you're out. What happens though, if the pitcher doesn't throw the ball right, or the batter doesn't swing at just the right time, he's patient, or the pitcher just doesn't want to let this guy get a home run on him, he lets him walk to first base. And we're kind of taking that same approach into the NFL. I'm gonna pitch you guys names of players, coaches, and executives. All right. If you feel like this executive, this player or coach should be removed from where they are within the next week or so, then that's a strikeout. If you feel like you want to give them just a little bit more time, like till the end of the season or very late in the season, you walk them. You guys understand? All right. Well, now I'm up the bat. My name is Clayton Kershaw. How y'all doing today? And my first guy up the bat will be Avery Collins. And Avery, I got a good.
Call me Mookie.
I got a good. Oh, all right.
Mookie.
And the first pitch I got coming your way is Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky.
Bang! Walk. He's got to walk. Yeah, I think you got to walk him because he's still a young quarterback. Nick Foles hasn't proven that he's so much better than Mitchell Trubisky that you feel like you can move on from this guy. He knows the system. Like I said, you got the first round pick. I mean, having him on your team to end the season is not a bad thing. Number one. Number two, the fact of the matter is no team is going to trade for him. So you're not going to get a lot of value for him currently. Unless there's a team that's in love with him. And if you're a team that's in love with him, I don't know what you're thinking. He hasn't shown anything this season or last that would make you fall in love with him. Now, I'm a Trubisky fan. I think he has tools to be talented in this league. However, just currently right now, with whatever's going on, he's not the guy. But again, if Nick Foles gets hurt, you don't want to have to go to somebody that you don't know or doesn't know the system. At least Mitchell Trubisky knows the system and he can keep the thing afloat. And let's not forget, he was 3-0 before.
But how much can you attribute the Bears' success to quarterback play versus a defense that's just been balling this whole year? Honestly, and if you like. There's no point. Like, you can put any quarterback back there and it's still effective. Foles just happens to take care of the ball a little bit better than Trubisky can.
I don't know about that, man. I don't think you can put anybody back there because there's some guys where you're like, yeah, no. Because like I said, Mitchell Trubisky wasn't the worst in the league. Let's not forget that. He wasn't the worst quarterback in the league. I believe for the first two to three games, he didn't have any turnovers or anything like that. I mean, he wasn't playing terrible. He just wasn't playing great. And then you saw them go up against Atlanta, and it was like, all right, dude, what is going on? This secondary is trash. Why are you not cooking them? Nick Foles comes in, and it's been the Nick Foles show since then. But it's not like he was playing terrible. He just wasn't taking them over the hump. And so, like I said, with a guy like that who just kind of steady the tide, you want to have him, as a backup. So you let that guy walk.
All right. Well, it's a walk. So Avery's on base right now. And now I'm bringing up next to the bat. I got Darius now up the bat. And Darius, I got a good one for you. It's a bit of a curveball, but I think you'll be able to get it. Ready? And it is Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn.
Walk.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Anthony Lynn walk. I don't think he's doing the worst job with Chargers. You just got to give him the circumstances. You look at the games; they should have beat Kansas City, right? You get a guy like Justin Herbert; they should have beat Kansas City.
Like in 2 years, where in games have been decided by 7 or less points.
Exactly.
We have an extremely losing record of 3 to I think 17. So how do you, like, for a coach that can't win those close games? What do you do?
And you got to understand, too, he hasn't had his premier safety, Derwin James, for the last 2 seasons. I think if you put him in, you plug him in, it makes a huge difference. Also, I believe Melvin Ingram, sure, he's been dealing with injuries. Still not an excuse, but I definitely will let him walk. I think he still has a lot to prove in the league, given that he has Justin Herbert, who is obviously balling this year. So I would let Anthony Lynn. I don't really think he's really a big problem. But I think that if he doesn't turn it around, just like Mike McCarthy, they're definitely gonna be like, okay, it's time for us to get a new head coach who can actually take us over that hump and get us past Patrick Mahomes and them boys. So I will let him walk.
Well, all right. So I got 2 walks on the mount so far. Not having a good streak. But you know what? I got a good one here. And I got it over to Darren up here. And so, Darren, I hope you're ready for this one, because if I don't get a strikeout here, I swear to God, they're gonna bench me for the closer early in the first inning. So let's do this. Up the bat, and it is Giants general manager David Gettleman.
Ooh.
You're muted, man. I can't hear you. Strikeout.
Gotta strike him out. Gotta strike him out at this point. I'm sorry. You gotta think about the last 2 years of moves. The only good thing I've seen him do is pick Daniel Jones, and that's even honestly still a little up there. But for everything else, even the acquisition of Leonard Williams, he's not really fitting into the system just yet. And the guys that he selected as well, with DeAndre Baker, who's now in some legal trouble and pretty much off the team. You got to understand, Giants fans deserve so much more. The whole thing with Pat Shurmur and him not being a great fit there, you got to understand that's on the GM. He is the guy that brings the people in. He is the guy that evaluates the talent. He should be the one that has to take the blame for this, unfortunately. And it's been going on for way too long. We need fresh blood in there, and he got to go.
So we got 2 walks and a strikeout, and that's unfortunate for me. But I'm gonna give myself one before we finish this segment real quick. And I'm gonna give it right over to everyone that's been clamming for Eagles general manager Howie Roseman, and I gotta say, guys, he's out. I strike him out because, for one, you could have had DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson as your top 2 wideouts to use with Carson Wentz and developing really well. Instead, you have an injured Jalen Reagor and an underperforming Arcega-Whiteside. JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Not to mention, you have veterans on every side of the ball. Fletcher Cox, who's been injured quite a bit this season. Deshaun Jackson, who was a mediocre signing, to say the least, to bring him back. You thought you were getting a speed option wide receiver who still has something in the tank. The hamstrings stay otherwise. Alshon Jeffrey is thanking everyone around him that he's not getting the cut news, because he has been a non-factor since the Super Bowl. And, Chris Thomas on his radio show in Philly, shout out to Chris Thomas, by the way, even said so, that Howie Roseman is just not doing a good job of building this team. He has to go. The Philly ideal of building the team around a young quarterback has a time limit, and Roseman, your time is here. And with that being said, we're going into our final topic of today. It's everyone's favorite thing to watch, everyone's favorite segment to do. It is the Week 7 game picks and hot takes of the week. And ladies and gentlemen, we got some good games in the lineup this week. But I'm going to toss it over to Darren first for his pick. So Darren, game of the week and your 2 hot takes from it.
So it's a lot of games. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot. Like, I love Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I love that matchup right there. 2 undefeated guys going against each other, and you really gonna see who really gonna bring it this week. Then you gotta go ahead. What I thought was gonna be a good game was the Raiders and Tampa Bay, until unfortunately the old line for the Raiders is not available. So we know that game is not going to be pretty for Derek Carr. But I got to go with the hot game of the week now. Seattle Cardinals. That game is going to be great. A division rivalry. And the simple fact they're out in the desert. Whew, I'm telling you, Kyler might be something at home, man.
That was a disturbing picture. That was a very disturbing picture. But okay, so what is your hot take for that game?
So my hot takes for that game, though, that's the part where it gets a little interesting. Russell is still going to do Russell things. I feel like he's still going to throw for at least 300 plus with at least 4 touchdowns. But Seahawks get their first loss of the season today. Cardinals eke out the win. Eke out the win with a game-winning drive for a touchdown to D-Hop from Murray. That's how I see that game ending.
Seahawks have had one of the worst defenses in the league. That's a good case.
That's it right there. That defense trying to stop D-Hop and the weapons that they have with Christian Kirk trying to come on, Larry Fitz still there. They have weapons. And don't forget Andy Isabella. That guy, he can play, man. He can play. He's got to catch some of them passes more, man.
The NFC West is certainly an interesting place to be right now. Not a single team has a losing record in that division. Darius, now your game pick of the week and your 2 hot takes to go with it.
All right, so I have a couple. Darren definitely touched on it. Pittsburgh against Tennessee. Obviously, the game was rescheduled because of COVID. But I think with this game is going to dictate what team is going to run the AFC. And I think whoever gets the win, if Pittsburgh remains undefeated or if Tennessee remains undefeated, that's who the AFC is going to run through. One thing we have to realize, and I think I said this before the season started, Big Ben is making a huge difference for Pittsburgh. And the fact that he has a guy in Chase Claypool, Juju Smith, they got a lot of talent on that offensive end. And then you factor in that the defense is finally clicking. They're getting things going. I definitely think that's going to be a great game. Obviously, another game that Darren said was the Seattle game. I think whoever wins that game, and you got to think Arizona has the number 2 ranked defense, and they're doing this without Chandler Jones. So that's a huge loss for them, and they're still getting it done. You saw they did against Dallas, right? But my game, obviously, I'm gonna go with the Raiders game, and it's just because I think with them not having no offensive line, Derek Carr is going to just be on his back most of the game. So, and my hot take from that game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to break the sack record in the season in a single game. So whatever the record is, Tampa Bay is going to shatter that just because Oakland has none of their starting offensive linemen are going to be there. So they're going to just shatter that record, and Derek Carr, is going to be on his back for most of the game. Every time we see a highlight, it's going to be Derek Carr on the ground.
So 10 plus?
10 plus.
We're looking at 10 plus.
10 plus.
I can see that.
10 plus.
Definitely see that. That's a good one. I'll give you some medium on the Heat, my man. I'll give you some medium.
I'll take that. Thank you.
With that being said, Avery, your game of the week and your 2 hot takes to go with it.
So I wanted to go Seahawks Cardinals, but I disagree with Darren. I think the Seahawks are actually going to run circles around the Cardinals. I don't think it's going to be close. But that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, so I think the Seahawks are going to win that game, and I think it's going to be pretty bad. I wanted to go, Bucks and Raiders, but again, to Darius's point, the Raiders don't have an offensive line. I don't want to see that. I really don't. Like that could be a blowout itself. I mean, we saw what the Buccaneers did to Aaron Rodgers, who was playing out of his mind up until they got in front of until he got in front of the Buccaneers front 7. So that was tough. So I'm gonna have to go. And I wanted to be a homer and say Falcons versus Lions, but nobody really wants to see that game. Neither of us are playing well. We suck. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh and the Titans. I think that's going to be a really, really
battle of the undefeateds.
Yeah, battle of the undefeateds. I think it's going to be a hard-nosed, tough-fought game. It's going to go back and forth. It's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. And I think it's going to be really, 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 really close. I think it's going to be like a 17-13 type game. And my hot take is that Ryan Tannehill outplays Ben Roethlisberger. I think Ben Roethlisberger throws 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. I think Ryan Tannehill throws 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. And I think that the Titans, win that game. Win a very, very close game. But I think we're going to see the Titans show that they're the team in the AFC.
Yeah, Darren, there is.
I will add this. I like that because I was reading something earlier today. Big Ben struggles in Tennessee. He's 1-3, I believe, in the 3 games that he played, and his touchdown to interception ratio is bad against Tennessee. So I can see Ryan Tannehill outperforming him just because Ryan Tannehill obviously has a better running back. So I definitely can see Big Ben struggling early.
Another fun fact is not only is Ryan Tannehill literally a top 5 quarterback in his league, but also whenever these undefeated games happen in the
Thank
NFL,
you. I was looking at this. Thank you, Avery. Thank you.
Hey, listen, whenever these undefeated games happen in the NFL, when it's a 5-0 or 5+ or a win plus team, 5+0 team, the winner of that game between those two usually goes to be the representative in the Super Bowl. So this might actually start to weed out who could be in contention for that big game spot. And with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to myself. And first off, I'm going to give my jersey pick for tonight's game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants, which also coincidentally happens to be my game of the week. And with that being said, give me 1 second because I turned it inside out.
He's going to Giants.
That's the game of the week.
I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles tonight, guys.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly, look, I'm looking at this game. I've analyzed it every which way. Carson Wentz is getting screwed over by that Eagles offensive line. All right. They let go of James Brown, a guy who led 3 sacks in against Wentz last week, and then they brought him back in for the practice squad. That is just miserable, first of all. But still, Carson Wentz has still been a decent playmaker for the Eagles. He's been the one thing that he's been trying to push forward in terms of offense. And I give he has very terrible weapons. He has very terrible offensive line play, but he still tries. And that's all you can really ask for out of a quarterback. He's the only thing that is propelling them into some effort of success. Their defense has also been something of a saving grace. They're 16th in yards allowed, 23rd in points allowed. They've had comeback bids against the Ravens and the Steelers. They just haven't been able to complete them. Nevertheless, there have been diamonds in the rough emerging for this team. Travis Fulgham has been a stellar diamond in the rough find for the Eagles. Brandon Graham is 4th in the league with 5 sacks. Darius Slay has allowed a QB rating of 92.5 against them. So there is still decent play on this team, but it just has to culminate. And I think it's going to do well against a meddling Giants team. And this is a Giants team that is missing its top playmaker in Saquon Barkley for the rest of the year. For goodness sake, Daniel Jones is their leading rusher. How sad does this team have to be that they can't have a running back be the leading rusher? But I can still give credit to their defense, which has been surprisingly good despite what we're seeing on the field. 16th in points allowed, 12th in yards allowed. They're 16th against the pass and top 10 and 8th against the run. Blake Martinez has been a stellar signing for Big Blue, 64 tackles, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery. And James Bradbury, the cast-off defensive back from Carolina, has made his home in the Big Apple. 10 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. This is going to be an ugly game. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but regardless of who wins or loses, contention for the NFC East will not change. It's still going to be high because this is a losing division. And with that being said, here is my hot take for today. I predict that Carson Wentz will throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns against this Giants defense. But I also feel like Darius Slay will get his first pick of the year against Carson Wentz. And my last hot take has nothing to do with this week, but it's sort of kind of like an angry statement that I have. The Tennessee Titans should be 3-2. And I say that because they don't deserve the last 2 wins that they've had. Their blatant disregard of COVID protocols, their open secret about not wearing masks, and their coach's inability to instill discipline during a pandemic is both disgusting and has turned his league inside out with regards to scheduling and just overall primetime efficiency. The NFL said that there were supposed to be game forfeitures for teams that violated protocol. Obviously, the Titans violated protocol. There is There's photo evidence of it happening by Tennessee press members. And yet all they get is just a minor fine, a possible fine, no lost draft picks, no game forfeitures, which I think is ridiculous. The Tennessee Titans should be 3-2, not 5-0. They don't deserve the last 2 wins that they've received.
I can understand that. Real quick, 3 things. Number 1, I'm on third base. I just want to let you know I stole 2 bases after getting walked, so I just want to put that out. Yeah. We're not gonna comment on that one, Chris.
That was my bad.
Number 2, my hot take. Since y'all said my hot take wasn't hot, my hot take is Alex Smith comes in, beats the Cowboys, and is the starter for the rest of the season for the Washington football team. That is my hot take. And then number 3, I believe I agree with you, Juan. D Jack is supposed to be playing, and Lane Johnson both come back. So I can see Carson Wentz throwing for 350. I definitely could see it happening. And I agree with you that it's going to be an ugly game tonight. But we will see at least one Daniel Jones amazing drive. We will see at least one where we're like, dude has so many weapons, so many tools of an arsenal, and we're gonna see one of those.
The guy I'm wearing, Fletcher Cox, might have something to say about that, especially because I picked the Eagles to win tonight. Nevertheless, I think we're just going to have to wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Air Dot Podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We love getting your messages. We love responding and talking. And, you can continue those conversations over on our Discord. Just go onto the Discord app, type it Inside the Hashes on the search bar. You'll find us there. You can also interact with us in any other platform. We are on Facebook as Inside the Hashes the football group. We are on Twitter as @InsideHashes, and we are on Instagram as @Inside the Hashes. You can also find a lot of our content, our podcast, our videos on our website, InsideTheHashes.com, as well as on our YouTube channel. Just type in Inside the Hashes. For Avery Collins, for Darren Braxton, for Darius Riddick, for Jerome Jones behind the glass, and for Christopher Thomas in our comment section, I'm Juan Pablo Guarin Camargo. We'll see you next time.
Bruh. Matt Ryan, president.